guys, it's Danny and welcome back to another video. Today I wanted to talk about setting goals for yourself and making those things that you want to happen. Maybe you're like me and you've struggled a lot with motivation. Maybe there's tons of projects that you wanted to work on. Maybe you wanted to start a YouTube channel. Maybe you've already started a YouTube channel like me and you've had a really hard time actually putting yourself into making videos and making more content and being present online because you get so stressed about what people think about you and then you get so worried about being successful and you get so worried about everything. My point is, this year I don't know what happened. You know what happened? I went to Europe! Wow! I just feel a new fire lit under my ass. Like, my ass is on fire. So if you are anything like me, and if you need some help lighting that fire under your own beautiful booty of yours, here are some things that you need to know. The first thing I want to talk about in this video is accepting where you are. I have always been like a really big dreamer. So to me, I see like the end result of where I want to go, the peak of my success. And then I look at where I am and I'm like, how in the living hell am I supposed to get from here to there? I honestly used to say, really feel into your trauma and discover the exact reason why you have so much resistance to this. Sometimes you just need to do the thing. You just need to start the momentum. But when you have this giant, big, daunting task in front of you, it's kind of like, well, how am I supposed to just start writing a novel? Take that big goal and instead of trying to get there as fast as possible, look at where you are now and see what's the next step before me. If you are early in your process, which there's no shame in being early in your process, honestly, a big part of me taking more action with this channel is me realizing, okay, I'm a bit earlier in my process than I may have perceived myself to be. Like, I thought that I was on step 12 and wondering why I was only getting rewards from step 2. But because I was trying to see myself as further ahead than I wasn't really accepting the reality of the fact that I'm not where I want to be, I am where I am. And I'm okay with that because I have something to work with. I'm at a good set point. But if you lie to yourself about where you are in your journey, then you're going to look around you and be like, why isn't anything happening? If you have the goal of making more friends, but you're sitting inside every day, you're hanging around the same people, you're going to the same places, you're doing the exact same thing, you're not making any changes to your life, what makes you think that you're going to be able to meet new people and make new friends? So do things that put you in a position to meet different kinds of people. And I'm not saying like just do an art class to meet new people or just go to a new bar with the intention that like you have to meet someone there, because then if you go into those experiences and you don't really click or connect with anybody, then you're going to leave disappointed. But when I went to Europe and I went to these different places, like, yeah, I knew there was a possibility I could meet new people. I was really excited for the opportunity of it, but nothing I did was so that I could have that result. Like, I met a friend going to a music festival. I didn't go to the music festival because I wanted to meet my best friends or have a boyfriend or any of these things. The reason I went to the festival is, one, my dad suggested it and said, you would be stupid to go to Denmark and not go to this music festival, so you better buckle up and go to this music festival. And so I did, because I'm a badass. Went to my first music festival by myself, because who does that? Me? Yes. But my point is, you don't have to go into a certain situation because you desperately need this other thing. You have the intention of making new friends or of creating a certain level of success or whatever it may be, and then you go into your life experiences, and then when those things come to you, you're receptive and you're ready for it. But when you're trying to force it, any small inkling of connection with a person is like, is this my new friend? Oh my god, are we gonna be friends? I don't wanna mess this up. Okay, how do I behave to make sure that they like me? I wanna seem like a cool person. It rubs people the wrong way. It kind of deters that energy because that desperation is like, okay, first of all, you're putting me on a pedestal. The only way that you can perceive me could get worse. I can't get any better for you because I'm clearly a vision in your head of this perfect person, which I am not. And who can live up to that? Nobody. But second of all, when someone's so desperate for something, it feels like they're always going to be needing you. And so if you value autonomy and freedom and independence, which most people do to a certain degree, then that kind of relationship feels like a trap, because it's not a confident person being like, hey, I'm cool on my own and I vibe with me, but I really like you, so I would like you to come hang out with me while I do me and you do you while you do you. It's somebody who's like, let's attach our souls and our entire lives and have basically no sense of autonomy because we need each other to exist. It's not attractive. And we understand this when it comes to relationships, even though a lot of us tend to ignore it. But a lot of us don't really think of it in terms of energy when it comes to our career. If you're so desperate for something and you're really chasing after it, it's going to be hard for that thing to manifest into your experience. However, if you are present where you are, you realize that I'm not banking my joy and my happiness off of this happening. Instead of interacting with the world through rose-tinted glasses. And I don't mean rose-tinted glasses in terms of like healthy optimism where you believe in your future being something that's really bright and beautiful for you. I mean rose-tinted glasses in you are operating assuming that reality is what it isn't. And so therefore, you can't truly manifest what you want because you're mentally convincing yourself things are different. And so therefore, you're not taking the actions that you really should be taking in order to get yourself into the best place for you. Let's say that you are a kindergartner and you really want to be at a 4th grade reading level. If you just go straight to the 4th grade class and you start reading the books they're reading and listening to the lectures they're listening to, you're going to be miserable. You're going to think you're stupid. You're going to think you're not good enough. You're going to think you're never going to be able to achieve this level of intelligence because you are skipping so many of the in-between steps that give you the foundation blocks for you to be at this next place. But if you were a kindergartner recognizing I'm a kindergartner and I want to be at a 4th grade reading level, then you can continue to pursue being where you are. Okay, I need to learn how each single letter makes a different sound. I need to understand that C sometimes goes k and sometimes it goes s. And if that kindergartner applied themselves, then by 1st grade, maybe they actually could be at a 4th grade reading level. But if they are trying to be a 4th grader when they're simply not there yet and there's a huge gap, then all they're doing is preventing themselves from actually getting there. They're actually prolonging their process by convincing themselves that they are ahead of where they are. The next thing I want to talk about is set goals for things that are within your control. Again, you can have desires like, I want to have 1 million streams on my song by the end of this year. Whatever it is, those ideas and goals and desires are absolutely beautiful. But here's the thing, to a certain degree, that exact amount of money or that exact amount of followers or streams or whatever it is out of your control. Because really what it is to get 10 million followers, you have to put out content that gets 10 million different people to think, I want to click that follow button. There are things that you can do to help this to happen, but instead of setting your goal to that endpoint, which you may or may not achieve, set goals for things that are within your control. So for example, if you want 1 million streams on Spotify, make it your goal, okay, once a week, I'm going to reach out to at least one different person who curates playlists and ask them to include my song. Or once a month at least, I'm going to go out and I'm gonna busk and I'm gonna promote what I'm doing. Those are action steps that you can take that can help you get to what you want. However, if you're so worried about getting to what you want, instead of the fact of I'm actually doing the things that I've set before myself, then you getting to a specific number becomes less important because you learn I can trust myself. Building self-trust goes beyond just you being with yourself and your emotions. Yes, it is about that. But to me, you know when I really started realizing that I could trust myself? It's when I started telling people that I would do something and that I would actually do it for them. There was one night where I was taking my grandpa out to dinner and I said, okay, we're going to leave at 7:40. And guess what? 7:40 on the nose, that is when I was in the driver's seat and we were leaving the house. Because the thing is, if I said we're going to be ready at 7:40 and then and we don't leave until it's like 8:15, then sure, it's not really a big deal in the grand scheme of things. However, if he gets upset with me and then I start thinking I'm not trustworthy, I can't do this, I don't know how to be consistent, then that insecurity from me saying one thing and doing another seeps into other areas of my life. So if you say you're going to do something and you do it, you build that trust with yourself over time, because when that becomes consistent, you have a secure relationship with yourself. So now you know if you say, I'm going to film a video in the next few days, you're going to film that video. So when you're not filming, you're not stressed about it because you trust yourself to come here, to sit down, to get on camera, and to actually speak about what you want to speak about. The next tip for setting a goal is to set goals for doing things that you actually want to do. Don't set a goal just because you think it's what you should do. Don't set a goal just because you want to please your parents or please your peers or seem like a good person. Set those goals because it's actually going to send you into the direction of what you want to create in your life. So for example, if I was to set the goal to apply to a bunch of universities in the States so that I could get a college degree, am I setting that goal to myself because I actually want that? Or am I setting that goal because I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't? Don't let other people's projections and ideas of what's safe or what you should do dictate what you should do, because there's no shortage of opportunities in whatever you're interested in. But if you are only seeing things one specific way and you believe that you have to listen to other people to tell you what path you should take, then of course you're gonna have a hard time getting to where you need to go because you're not listening to yourself. You're taking action that's contradictory to what you want out of life. The last tip I have for setting goals that you can actually achieve is to be completely honest with yourself about why you want those things. And the goal here is to be so honest with yourself and to have absolutely no shame as to why you want it. So I'm going to use a personal example, which is being a content creator. Why do I want to make videos on YouTube? I can go on my tangent of saying, I like editing. I like making videos. I love talking about these concepts. I think what I'm talking about is really important and valuable, and it makes me really proud to see a video go up. But there are other things and other reasons as to why I want this that honestly I've been ashamed to admit to myself, and especially ashamed to admit to other people, because some of the reasons you may want something that you desire may not be socially acceptable, but at the end of the day, it's the truth. So honestly, I like being in the spotlight. I like being the center of attention. I like it when people listen and focus on me. Personally, this is a way where part of that desire and part of that thing that I enjoy is fulfilled. Another reason I want it is because I want to feel important. I want to have some level of authority. And you know, having a big subscriber base is a way to feel or see that sense of authority of people taking me seriously. I honestly like the idea of people knowing who I am. I like the idea of standing out in a crowd. But all of these things that I've just said is really scary for me to come onto camera and talk about, because it's something that's not desirable in our society to want. From my perception, the classic example is PewDiePie.
So 2 years ago, I said I was gonna retire, and that confused a lot of people because I still uploaded videos. But the thing is, what I meant was I just want to do YouTube the way I did it when I started, which was for fun. Believe it or not, I didn't do it to become this big channel or big character. And so instead I try to just focus on, what was fun about YouTube, which is really at its core just to share stuff with you guys. I think other people could see it as, oh, he got fame, he got money, you know, what else does he want? But at its core, that's never why I got into YouTube and enjoyed it so much to begin with. So that's why I'm still here.
So if there's someone like me who might be hearing him and his message, then you think that there's something bad about wanting it for other reasons. But if you continue to shame yourself for what you want, and you're saying, I just want this other thing, and I don't care about this other side of it, but you're also going for this other thing, you have to be honest to yourself about that, because there's other areas in your life where that can be achieved. If this is my source, my only source for going after what I want, then I'm gonna put a lot of pressure on this thing working out. If I'm allowing all of my desires to be fulfilled from all these different avenues in my life, you release that kind of desperate energy I was talking about earlier that actually ends up pushing away what you want because you recognize there's more than one way to get it. Like, if I believe there's only one person in the world who's the one for me, then if I find someone and believe that they are the one or could be the one, then I'm gonna get really, really caught up on not wanting to mess this up. However, if I recognize why I want this other person, and I also believe there are so many people that could be the one for me, then when you have one specific interaction with a person, you take off that pressure of needing them specifically. And not only does that make it easier for you to magnetize, but then also if it just simply doesn't work out because life, then yeah, it may suck, it may hurt, but you're not going to find yourself so lost and miserable as a result of it. So once you've set your goals, the next part is just doing the thing and taking the action. And honestly, this is so often the hardest part of the process. It kind of sucks to say, like, just do it, especially when it's like, I don't want to force myself to do it. I don't want to make myself do it. I've spent the past 2 years of my life doing basically nothing. But you know what? I wasn't taking action because there was so much going on in my brain. When we're at that set point where we're not doing anything and it's so hard to get ourselves to do anything, what do? Not only do you watch some of my older videos about these concepts, but I have some tips as of today that have really helped me out. First thing, do something different. Put yourself into a different environment. When you do something that is outside of the normal routine of your daily life as of now, you create an opportunity for a paradigm shift. When I left and I was living my life in Europe, I felt like I was a new person. I felt like I was completely different and that I had changed. And my biggest fear is that I would come back home and I would go back to the exact same person that I was when I was here. And here's the thing, to a certain degree that did happen. I did revert, or I guess more accurately, I acclimated to the environment that I was in. And I didn't realize that so much of who I thought I was simply came down to the environment that I was in. However, when I came back, I took a lot of what I learned and have applied it to my life now. Because even though I've acclimated to this environment, I realized that I don't have to judge myself for adapting to where I am. When you create a paradigm shift in your life, and you're doing something different and living a different life, even when you return to this life of normalcy, you can still apply the things that you've learned and the growth that you've experienced to this other environment. But the thing that we keep forgetting is you always have the option to change your environment. And if for some reason you do not have the immediate option to do so, you can do things today to set you on the path of being able to do that. Maybe you have a friend in a neighboring city, and so you ask if you could spend a week just living with them in a different location. And that different experience of putting yourself in a new environment can be the exact thing that helps change the momentum for you. The next tip I have with helping you take action is something I discovered the other day that has been so helpful. The reason we procrastinate is because there's something we want to do, we have an idea, and what our brain does is try to think of anything else that could be more enjoyable or something that could give us more dopamine than that activity. So if I'm like, oh, I should really write that essay, that is a task that is not going to pay off a high dopamine reward like scrolling through Instagram. However, when you start on a certain task, haven't you ever noticed that you start to build a momentum for that thing? If I say, you know what, I have an essay to write, but maybe just one episode of How I Met Your Mother, that one episode is turning into 10. The best thing you can really do when you have that thought is to say, okay, I am going to start writing this essay. I'm going to give my all to writing this essay for for 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And if at that point I am sluggish and I don't have the energy to do it, that is when I can get up and do something else. I'm going to start the momentum on this other thing, and if it doesn't work out, no hard feelings, at least I did something. The hardest part about taking action is the starting of it. It's the turning on the gas, where the battery has to fuel the engine and it goes and you're like, oh my god, is it gonna turn on? And then once the engine is purring and humming and happy, the car drives easily and smoothly. The hardest part is starting the engine. So just start the engine, and if the engine isn't happy with you, then you can be like, you know what? I'm gonna give you some more time to refuel. If you feel powerless to your reality, and if you really have goals and intentions that you've set for this year that you want to achieve, it is achievable. The most important thing is for you to believe in yourself and to know that you can trust yourself. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. That takes time. All you can say is, I am in the process of learning how to trust myself, and that is more than enough. So anyways, as chaotic as this video has been, thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed. If you liked it, please do all the things, click all the buttons, and I will see you in the next video.